Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Daily Thread. It's a snowy day in March, so we've all been saying how it's been such a good winter, but we're getting a little bit of that winter weather on the later half of the winter. No, Abba?
I think it's probably the coldest day today here in New York. Anyway, you have to consider that people listening to this all over the world, and probably some places that it's in the 80s and 90s, and they don't know what you're talking about. But it's blistering cold out there today. It's only about 35 degrees, but the wind is whipping up, and it's making it very uncomfortable.
Yeah, that is true. It's snowing a lot. It's been pretty unpleasant this entire week so far weather-wise, but we want to welcome everybody to another day of the Daily Thread. We want to thank our sponsor of today's episode, which is Moshe Alpert and Associates. Guys, gals, if you need life insurance, now is the time. If you get married, if you have a child, but when you get married, the time that you get married is the time that you get life insurance, because you need to make sure your family is going to be taken care of. So go ahead, give Moshe Alpert a call, or you even send him an email at alpertmoshe@gmail.com. That's alpertmoshe@gmail.com. Or you can give him a call very, very easily. Just give him a call. Tell him you heard about him on the Daily Thread at 718-644-1594. That's 718-644-1594. Get your life insurance today. Okay, Abba, so there are quite a few stories I want to get to today.
Okay.
And I know you have some stories as well. I guess we'll start with one story that is very relative to the people who are in Israel who have newborn babies, who are trying to get back into the States for Pesach.
It seems that people that are living in Eretz Yisrael, who are Americans, maybe they're living there permanently, maybe they're living there just for a couple of years, but they have young children, very often, newborns, probably 1 or 2 years old, and they can't get on a flight, international flight, until they have a passport for the baby.
Right.
Here, one of the post offices here, I go in sometimes and I see someone's holding up a baby against a white screen because they have to have a passport because they're traveling somewhere. But it seems from the report that we both saw this morning, the American embassy in Jerusalem is not cooperating and not allowing people to come in to apply for passports for their young children, and that seems to be very disturbing news if it's accurate.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. Also, what that means for people trying to get in for Pesach who have newborn babies.
Anachi, I think it's I don't know why it's happening. I don't think there's any legitimate reason why something like that could happen. But if you live in New York, if you live here on Long Island, believe me, you make one phone call to a congressman who represents our district, like Anthony D'Esposito, or even if you call Senator Schumer's office, who's a senator for New York State, this will get corrected in 5 minutes. Because
yeah, you know what?
The way.
Even if, by the way, my voice is gone. I don't know why.
I see that.
Even if you call Chaim V'Chesed, which is an organization in Israel that helps the Anglo community, they should be able to help. So don't worry, don't fret. Give them a call. But that's something that we just noticed and we wanted to bring attention to. Something else that I noticed, and I wanted to talk about. I saw this video from Mark Levin was on Fox News, and he was talking about the anti-Semitism on the left, and he was highlighting a recent event by the notorious anti-Semite Louis Farakahn.
Right.
At this event, you have thousands of people, and we always say, never again, never again. What happened to us in the 40s? Never again. But you have Louis Farakahn up there in front of thousands of people, begging for the annihilation of Jewish people. That these Jewish people control us. We need to take care of them. We need to take care of it. And people are saying, yeah, we're going to... You don't think people on the left know an event like this is happening? You don't think President Joe Biden sees something like this happening? You don't think former President Barack Obama knows that this event happened and knows the things that Louis Farrakhan said? Why hasn't anybody on the left denounced Louis Farrakhan for the things he said? Instead, they're sticking his character into Netflix movies and they're making it like a joke. This guy's a raging anti-Semite who calls for the death of you and me, and for everyone listening to this podcast. And I know people who are going to watch this on TikTok or Instagram, wherever it is, they think it's not a big deal. Free Palestine. You Jews have it coming to you. But we've been here before. We've seen this type of hatred before. This is not new to us. And we're not okay with it. Where are all the people? Where are they?
It's a good question. I don't know if Joe Biden, I don't know if he's a good person to assign responsibility to for this or for anything else. Barack Obama certainly, being that Farakhahn's from Chicago and Obama's from Chicago, he knows him well. And if you remember some of the things that Barack Obama tried to pull off during his 8 years of being president of the United States, you could see that they were at least minimally inspired by some of the rhetoric from people like Louis Farakahn. Now, Farakahn, believe it or not, I saw this morning, he's 89 years old. He's been spewing hate speech for decades. Now, why doesn't anyone on the political left condemn him or speak out? I don't know. I don't know, but I could just speculate that I think he's carved out a niche for himself, where he's like parked his anti-Semitic truck in a certain space, and as long as he remains in those two spaces, if you can imagine that, I think they want to just keep hands off and not get into a tussle or a scuffle with him and his followers. I think that they mostly consider him a combination of a deranged person, number one, and number two, it also is a combination with this concept of free speech, which of course is under attack by the Democrats, but they're only attacking free speech on the right. So it's problematic. You're absolutely right about that.
You know what? Louis Farakahn, he's 89 years old. He's been doing this his whole life. I think he's absolutely out of his mind. But what about the thousands of people in that room? That's who I'm worried about. I'm worried about the thousands of people in that room, which really turns into tens of thousands of people, considering they all have children and families. What happens to them? These are people who are walking in the street. These are people who are going to do crazy things. How can someone get up there in 2023 and speak that way? I agree, there's freedom of speech, but there's not freedom of consequences. You can't get up there and speak that way. If anybody else were to speak about any other religion, any other race, any other group of people, the way that he speaks about Jewish people, it wouldn't fly for not a second. For not a second. CNN would be all over it. MSNBC would be all over it. They would be. But no one's talking about it.
Okay, what would they do besides report it and talk about it?
Well, I think awareness.
How would they stop it?
Well, you know how the world works. It's on the news. People are talking about it. Politicians feel pressure. Congress people feel pressure. Democrats start coming out about it because they feel pressure. It all starts with people hearing about it and knowing about it. The Democratic Party feels very comfortable as long as it's not being talked about. We could just sweep it under the rug and make believe it didn't happen. But you can't do that.
I think I've said it here before on other occasions over the last few months since we started doing this. And I think that unlike other attacks on other minorities, other ethnics, other religions, when it comes to an attack on Jews, the haters and those who commit the offense get more latitude and more space and more flexibility doing what they're doing, as if there has to be some type of, we're not sure about you shouldn't talk about the Jews that way. We're really not sure, but maybe you shouldn't anyway. But
Yeah.
the other minorities don't get that, whether it's blacks or Asians or anyone else. So
No, of course not.
it's a problem. It's a problem that we suffer from as a people from time immemorial, from the beginning of time, actually going back thousands of years. So in a way, it comes under the heading of nothing new under the sun.
Yeah, definitely nothing new under the sun, but it's something that we always need to point attention to and say that maybe us here talking about it will lead to the right people hearing about it and doing something about it. Because you know what, there's no doubt in my mind that such rhetoric like this leads to action by some crazy people, and even just one event taking place against us is too many. And we all know the numbers have doubled and tripled even over the last year of anti-Semitic attacks. So, shame on you, Louis Farakahn. You're a piece of garbage. You're an anti-Semite. You're a waste of space on this earth. And that goes for everyone who's his follower as well. That goes for every single one of them. That they really should do some introspection and think about what they're partaking in. The next story I have
I'm
here.
with you.
The next story, and by the way, I never really speak that strongly about people on here. It's not like I
Right.
don't take that lightly. Call someone a piece of garbage or a waste of space, but someone who's 89 years old who has devoted his whole entire life to speaking bad about people. That's just like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that this person has a platform to get up there and speak to thousands of people still. Honestly,
By the way, he considers himself to be a minister of the Nation of Islam.
Minister of hate.
He is 89 years old, and nobody lives forever. And there's just divine justice that's awaiting him, and I think he's in for a big surprise.
Yeah, definitely. The next story I have here is New York City bike path terrorists will not be put to death. So we all know about the bike path terrorist, Sayfulo Salpov, who's an Uzbekistan citizen who's 35 years old. He lives in New Jersey, and he will be sitting for life in prison for an October 2017 attack. He killed 8 people on a bike path, and the jurors and attorneys left the courthouse afterwards without speaking to reporters. They gathered in the rain outside before he was escorted out by the U.S. Marshals. Salpov seemed relaxed and shook the hands of one defense lawyer. It seems like the jury could not come to a unanimous decision to hand down the death penalty. To be honest, I don't know how that works. You're sitting in front of somebody who committed an act of terror, who killed 8 people, who ruined the families' lives, the lives of the families of eight whole families, and he doesn't
more people are injured. People have debilitating injuries besides the 8 people that died when he ran them down with his truck on the bike path on the West Side Highway in Manhattan. Part of the problem, I know the trial was delayed because of COVID, but part of the problem is the fact that this happened in 2017, and now it's 6 years later in 2023. So the delay for COVID, the fact that the courts weren't open, notwithstanding, that's problematic. I was reading this morning, I forgot what state it was in. I'm not going to look it up now, but I was reading that someone that killed 2 people in 1989 was executed yesterday.
Really?
Somewhere in the United States. So, they sit on death row. They're given the death penalty in certain states, places like Texas, Oklahoma, where they have the death penalty, and when they deliver on the death penalty. Of course, New York won't do it because whatever their reasons are. The jury in New York couldn't deliver the death penalty to this guy because you have to have 100% unanimous agreement on the death penalty. So they had, I guess, what it was, 11 or 12 jurors, and they couldn't get a unanimous decision, which means at least one person said, no, I don't believe in killing somebody. Killing somebody is not going to bring anybody back. It's not going to heal anybody's permanent injuries or wounds. It's only more killing. And a lot of people feel that. A lot of people feel that way. Now, that's a problem here, especially in liberal cities like New York and places, I'm sure, the same thing in California. And Israel suffering from the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a much smaller place. At least 13 people would die in terrorist attacks in the last month in Israel. Yesterday, you saw Rabbi Pillay, who was in a wheelchair, got out of the hospital to visit the kfarim of his 2 little boys, a 6 and an 8-year-old, who were killed a few weeks ago. And the perpetrators, I don't know what happened with those guys. Maybe they were killed, but certainly in some of these cases they were arrested, and they're in Israeli jails, which are not necessarily very uncomfortable.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So it's a problem, and you have to have a government that has the courage to cross that line. And people are going to listen to this, and they're going to say, oh, we're for the death penalty. We like killing people. But that's not what it's about. It's about establishing a deterrent so innocent people are not harmed and hurt and killed in the future. That's what it's all about. Nobody is going to relish over the fact that a guy is going to get a lethal injection or put in an electric chair or however they do those things today. But this idea of giving a killer a hope to live his life out for the future. Sirhan, who killed Robert Kennedy in 1968, is still in prison in California.
Yeah, really. Well, what happened to the person who assassinated John F. Kennedy?
Well, he was killed. Lee Harvey Oswald was killed by Jack Ruby, and Jack Ruby died a few years later. I think he was terminally ill or something like that. So, it's a lot of conspiracies about those types of things. Going back, John Kennedy was killed in 1963. November 22nd, 1963, and in 68, Robert Kennedy was running for president. He was in California. Security for candidates wasn't what it is today. And Sirhan was either working or making believe he was working in a kitchen in a hotel, and he shot and killed Robert Kennedy.
Well, a couple of stories on a lighter note. The airports in Europe come alive as travelers to and from Lezhinsk on the yard site of the Noam Elimelech gather to daven mincha on the Budapest airport. This is via MKY. The Noam Elimelech is of Lezhinsk, was one of the founding rabbis of Hasidus, of the Hasidic movement, and this is a day that people from all walks of life, from all countries, they travel to Lezhinsk and they daven there.
Rabbi Elimelech was born in 1717. And according to his bio online, he died in 1787, and he is attributed with being, of course, a descendant, a successor of the Baal Shem Tov, and one of the founding fathers, so to speak, of the Hasidic movement.
And his predecessor, the predecessor of Rav Elimelech was Dov Ber of Mezerich, and the successor of Rav Elimelech was the Chayz of Lublin. So these are
he had a lot of very notorious Talmidim who spawned a great movement, and they're the foundation of these Hasidic movements that are found all over the world today. And his kever, I think I was there 6 or 7 years ago.
Oh, really?
When on a trip to Poland, and it's a very special place, and I think. I'm not sure if we davened mincha or ma'ariv there, but it was at night. We probably davened ma'ariv there. It was pretty late at night, and it's busy around the clock, 24 hours a day.
Really interesting,
and especially today, obviously.
Another. So, drink a cup of orange juice, eat a rugula, do it for the L'Zeicher Nishmas, the Rav Elimelech of Lezhinsk. And also a lighter note, something a little bit funny. I saw before on Twitter a commercial from Signature Bank. How they were the bank to trust. They turned down Donald Trump's business. They are the bank to trust, Signature Bank. Well, Signature Bank is not the bank to trust because they went under just the other day. It's just funny how these things work.
But they're still open. The bank's open and functioning. The banks are open and functioning normally. I spoke to people in this building yesterday that have accounts in Signature Bank.
Well, was it a fire sale? Did they get bought out by? I know you mentioned yesterday HSBC was bidding for Signature Bank, correct?
No, HSBC in England is buying Silicon Valley Bank. SV. Don't get SVB confused with SPF, which is Sam Bankman-Fried, who stole $32 billion.
You know what? It's kind of a similar Misa, and so it's fine.
The fact of the matter is, both Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and the President Joe Biden said yesterday they're going to assure that people can get access to their deposits, but they're not. This is not a bailout. This is not going to be a bailout. And today they're saying, oh, by the way, it's a bailout. So they bailed out these banks, and they're making sure they can make good on all the money that's in there.
Well, listen, the market today, the Dow Jones is up 450 points right now, which is great. We still have many hours to go in a day. But what is a concern is sort of, are we in the 2007, which then was followed by the 2008, right? 2007, similar things happened. Big bank collapsed. And then all of a sudden, 2008, everything collapsed. Commercial real estate.
But there was a different financial crisis then. You have to understand there was a lot of years when banks were writing mortgages for people that couldn't afford to pay their mortgages, and they were forced to foreclose on and repossess millions of houses around the country. because they gave mortgages to anybody. Income, no income, credit, no credit. They just gave you a mortgage. They wrote you a mortgage. They gave you the money, and you never made any payments, and you lost your house, and they were stuck with real estate. And,
Yeah, well, you know what?
it's
I recently bought a house. So I know how crazy and how difficult it is nowadays to get a mortgage, and how many hoops you need to jump through. And to be honest, if there's a collapse of that market, I don't know what else they can do better, because they make it so difficult and so rigorous in order to attain a mortgage. I just want to end this episode. There's an article right now up on meaningfulminute.org by Rabbi Yisrael Bernath. It's sort of a question answer type of column we have on our website. And the question that was posed by Bernath was, "Dear Rabbi, I'd love to know, at what point can I know for sure that I found the one and I should get married? Do you need a total lightning bolt moment of he or she is the one, or is it enough that everything is there and there's good potential? I could see the current person I'm dating working out, so should we just get engaged?" So to see, this question was from someone named Shoshi. To see the answer, head to meaningfulminute.org. The article's on the homepage. Really, really interesting question. I think many people might find themselves in that predicament.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And in this week's 5 Jewish Times, which will be out in about 48 hours or less, actually. What's today? Tuesday. I did a story on the history of Pesach cake. Which is it charts the progress.
Is that what you're writing in the basement at 5 a.m.? The history of Pesach cakes, Abba? Is that what you're waking up at 5 a.m. to do?
Well, not everything can be about the judiciary crisis in Israel or about terrorism or the death penalty. You have to be able to move in different directions sometimes.
I hear you.
So I was thinking about the history of Pesach cake, how it started out many, many decades ago with just sponge cake and marble cake. And today you have, it graduated to rainbow cookies and to jelly roll and to 7-layer cake and checkerboard cake. And now it's, all systems go. Everything goes. So it's come a long way. One thing I pointed out is that 35 years ago, you could go to a hotel for Pesach, and on the menu you could have gebrux and non-gebrux. And if the dish was gebrux, it had a little asterisk next to it.
Oh, really?
So, and now you can't have gebrux and non-gebrux in the same zip code. It has to be in different zip codes.
Yeah. I can't wait to read that article. I'll just say that for me, it's 7-layer cake or nothing, and that's the best advice I have for anybody. Like,
I prefer the rainbow cookies.
Really, I don't know why I can't eat something that has so many different colors. It just makes me a little nauseous.
Well, but close your eyes.
The 7-layer cake or nothing. Don't get into the Pesach cake. The best cake to eat on Pesach is nothing. Don't eat cake. Don't worry about it. Eat potatoes. Drink some salt water and call it a day. That is today's episode of the Daily Thread. We'll be back at you tomorrow. Make sure to give Moshe Alpert a call for all financial planning and life insurance needs.
Right.
And we'll be back at you with another episode tomorrow. Have a great day.
Great.